Greetings, space travelers. Welcome home. You just tuned your dial to Spaced Out Radio, the only place where you can own the night. I am your host, Mr. Rob G, and tonight we're broadcasting to you on our terrestrial affiliates across North America and digitally on TalkStream Live, CanPL, and Odyssey Radio. Remember, you can access our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. And while you're there, please consider hitting that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where the options are endless. You can stay up to date with the S.O.R Newswire, get some official Spaced Out swag, plus rock out to some Bumblefoot, and so much more. Tonight we have another awesome show for you on this Saturday here at After Hours. We are going to be talking to one of our very own, Eugene Braxton, Mr. Eugene Braxton, a little later on here. But first, what we're going to do is go ahead and welcome in our guests for the night. I know we have, we have Tamothman with the gold. We have Susie B with the silver. And we have Race Fan with the bronze. What's going on, Race Fan? What's going on? Talk to me about it. We can talk about it, man. Let me know if everything is okay here. We got Cielo coming in. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for joining us. Says can't wait either. We have Super Knower. Exciting topics indeed. Yeah, we're going to be getting into N.D.E, O.B.E. You know, my man Eugene goes deep with it. We've had previous conversations, so I expect this one to be just as epic here. Let's see. We have Jimmy Gonzalez. Want to thank you for coming in. Appreciate you showing up here tonight. We have Brown Dwarf. Good evening. Thanks for coming in. We have Lars Jansen. Thank you for coming in. We have Ann Joanne. Thank you for coming in. Let's see. We have Dino Bravo Fan. Thank you for joining us. We have Anna Boline. Thank you for joining us, Anna. Let's see. We have, let's see. Who else do we have here? Oh, we have Jenny White Bear. Jenny White Bear, thank you for coming in. Thank you for joining us. Let's see. We have, if it'll get down here, looks like we have Little Cam 51. Thanks for joining us. Paula Faust, appreciate you coming through. And Doug Shelby, appreciate you coming. Hey, y'all, weekends are freaking awesome. Love it. Doug Shelby, let's go. Let's get it. And let's see, what else do we have? We have Roger Murray. Roger Murray, appreciate you coming in. And let's see, Grandmaster UV, one of the previous S.O.R trivia winners. You know, Mothman is the current reigning champion for S.O.R trivia. And who knows, you may have a chance to defend that title tonight. I don't know. We'll see. Deb from SAC, thank you for coming in. Paranormal Pixie Laura, good evening, Rob G and fellow travelers. Appreciate you coming in. Let's see. We have Nancy Thames, one of the recent guests. If you haven't watched that episode, definitely go back and watch it. Nancy's awesome. Thank you for coming in, Nancy. We appreciate you. Let's see. Wayne. Hey, Wayne. Hey, hi, Mr. G. Hey, Wayne. Thanks for coming in. I appreciate you. Susan Alloway. Thank you for joining us on this Saturday. Susan Alloway. Thank you. Sarah Yan. A Uranus joke. Okay. I want to thank you for coming in, Sarah. Thanks for joining us tonight. And let's see, Wellshammer. Thank you for coming, Wellshammer. To Rob G and all, cheers. I love it. And let's see. No, I just skipped one here. We got JSCO77. Appreciate you coming in, JSCO77. We got Free Your Mind. Free Your Mind. I like that. Thanks for coming in. Cliff C. Appreciate you. Or Psy. Cliff C. Either way, appreciate you for coming in. Who else do we got here? We got Philip Baca. Thank you for coming in. I appreciate you. Cielo, let's get to the topic. Cielo, patience is a virtue. This is Saturday, so you know we do the S.O.R weekly review. So once we get done with that, we will be getting to the topic, Cielo, I promise. And let's see, who else do we have? Okay, Rat Sass pulling in on the night train. Whoop, whoop. I like that. All right. And looks like we are pretty current here and pretty up to date. Let's see. I understand, Cielo. Well, I really hope that you do come back or do it on Team Rewatch. That way you can fast forward through the weekend review. But yeah, that is something that we do here every Saturday. So thank you. Appreciate you considering us tonight. All right. So with that being said, jumping right into what I just talked about here, which is going to be the S.O.R week in review, because we want to see what happened this week at Spaced Out Radio. Some people don't get to catch the week. Some people only have time for the weekend, and they want to know what happened during the week. So without going to watch every single show, you get a good good feel to see what it was that happened. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to bring that up here. So I appreciate your patronage, your patience, as we go ahead and get into it here. So here we go.
As you go down this path and as you realize that the Urantia book was really resonating with you, I look at it like this. I mean, there's a lot of religions out there that I don't resonate with, but I've been able to find my own spirituality. Do you look at your own path as this is the garden that was grown for you to find, so that way you felt you could fit in rather than trying to fit in to a religious round hole and you're just a square box?
Oh, I was definitely a round hole in a square box. And for me, it wasn't about believing any particular set of dogma. It was more about centering my life on becoming a better person. And really, I think the big thing that changed me was when I read part 4 of the Life and Teachings of Jesus, that went into every year of his human life and why he was truly here that superseded the information that I had been indoctrinated in the Christian church, which was to develop myself so that my human potential could help me feel purposeful and like I had a meaning and value to my life. And in reading that, that was really the catalyst to move me out of organized religion into finding my own space of God within me. That was my guiding force through the course of my life that led me in certain paths of exploration to understand a larger picture of reality. So that was a big help to me when I read that part in part 4 of the Life and Teachings of Jesus.
All right. Do you consider yourself a religious person then?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I feel like I'm very religious. I'm very spiritual. But I'd like to make the distinction here that my religion is very personal to me. I don't ascribe to any particular set, organized or socialized religion. My religious belief is based on my faith in God as my mother and father, divine mother and father, who loves me and is helping me to become a better person. So I don't really ascribe to any set principles or dogma. I go into my spirit and ask for, what do I need to learn? What is truthful? Help me see the bigger picture of reality and kind of get it through my internal intuitive senses, rather than going to a minister or a church, where I'm going to be taught what to believe, instead of, having my own inner spiritual development become the anchor and the foundation of my life.
Are we winning that? Or are we just starting to open up our eyes to see it? Because the way I look at it, there's still a number of billion of people on this planet who don't understand or do not want to understand for one other reason or the other, whether it's religion or too egocentric into their own lives, that there is more to just nice clothes, an electric vehicle, the picket fence, and, maybe a cat or two.
What about a dog?
Well, true.
Well, progression with any species is not pretty, right? Like, we're not all going to wake up at the same time, and there's a reason for that, because it would be complete mass chaos. Not that it wouldn't be chaos if aliens like completely landed in the front of the White House and said, we're here, and talked to us and all that kind of stuff, right? But we the actual reprogramming of the human species is part of the process. So our attachment to these belief systems that at one point united us are making us small right now. They're not part of the evolution of where we're going. And most humans know this, but it's that reprogramming of one's mind. Like one of the most famous lines in philosophy is know thyself. So we spend most of our lives trying to fit into another group of humans so that we can survive. That's one of our survival techniques. That's one of our emotional components as a human species, is to relate with other humans so we can survive, because we survive together. But in that process, we build these belief systems that are now kind of crumbling our ability to understand how the universe works. But that reprogramming of what that means to be human together is part of the process that we must go through, and it will not happen overnight. And a lot of the people that are maybe listening to this that have had experiences like yourself, these are experiences that are kind of forced upon you to jump years ahead of your progression so that you can really understand or start questioning what your existence means as a human in this existence, but to all of the existences that you might have experienced. And that is speeding up. It's speeding up right now. So many people are having experiences. So much data is coming out. it's getting to the point where the people holding on to the belief systems know that there's not going to be many humans that are going to believe what they believe. So we just have to keep going. We've got to keep inserting new concepts into our conscious morphogenic field that connects all of us to get to that next level.
Yes, it is that time of the month where we say hello to our main man, Merle. Yes, Merle from the Paranormal Road Trippers, based out of Vancouver, British Columbia, is a guy who likes to investigate anywhere along the west coast of North America. There is no ghost too big, too small, too fat, or too dead for him to not investigate. Merle, it's always good to have you back on Spaced Out Radio, my man. I love. See, Merle doesn't really understand this. He's starting to learn. Okay, Merlicious is starting to learn. Okay,
Malicious.
Merlicious. Okay, and what I mean by that is ghosts are very heavy. Spirits are very heavy. They draw off your energy, and everybody I talk to, Merle included, you know, when you're done a paranormal investigation, your shoulders feel heavy, you feel tired, you feel lethargic, you feel sometimes the next day, I don't know how you feel, I feel completely hungover that I've just put all of this into the night previous. Whereas with the extraterrestrials and the UFOs, it's like being in downtown Las Vegas at the greatest street party that's ever happened. The energy is just like, woo, let's go. You know, let's make this happen and everything. Did you notice that too, Shayla?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it's because it's one of my biggest like fears or it used to be, but yeah, the energy's totally different feeling.
How about you, Cheyenne?
100%. You feel the sinking feeling in your gut, kind of a feeling for me. That's how I experience it. And you can just feel it, like the air around you is just charged differently.
See, Dave, I guess for me, it was the summer of aliens, because we were poking around the aliens up in your neck of the woods, Dave, and then I scurried down to Spokane and did the alien thing down there. And I can't process the feeling, because I understand what you guys are saying and how it makes you feel. Like, Dave, when we had that issue in the woods.
What issue? What issue?
Well, I couldn't process it, because I'm you're right. I'm used to the ghosts. I'm used to the heaviness. I'm used to the stress and the drama of ghosts. And then in Spokane, when we did the CE5, actually no, stop. The night before, when we were investigating their house, Cheyenne, you had actually no, or was it Shayla, when we were in your basement, and you're like, "Oh man, they're coming in." And you were referring to aliens. When it was when Cheyenne and I were sitting on the floor by that
Yeah.
bed frame.
Was that when I was under for the what was it?
Estes.
Yeah, that was weird. I don't know if it's because we like test the limits with a lot of this equipment and do these different experiments, but we're finding like even when we go out to hunt for ghosts, like the aliens just show up.
One of the things you brought up in hour number 1 was astral travel. And I've done it before. It's very interesting. It's amazing what you can actually see in real time. It's kind of like remote viewing. How often do you astral travel, and why do you do it?
Well, to be totally honest, lately I haven't done much with it, but I've done a lot with it before, and or up to now. And then it is just like there's another world out there. People don't know what is out there. And anybody that has stepped out of the body once will never be afraid of death, because they can see things. They understand that what's in the body, what the body is, that's just temporary. We're going to another world afterwards. And astral travel can be fun if you understand the environment you step into. Because once you step out of the body, everything is different. Now, you may run into other entities out there, people out there, non-physical things. I said things because they may never have had a body. They must just be consciousness aberrations that has intelligence, and they want to ask you questions. So it's a totally different environment. If you don't understand the environment, then maybe you should learn more about it before you start going to the moon and places like that, because there is things up there that maybe you don't necessarily want to see. Learn about it. That's Norilov and I put together this mastermind group, and on there I have a class on astral travel. I go through is 4 sessions of an hour, and we go through everything that you need to know to feel safe and feel good out there and have an exploring spirit behind you, because you want to go and have a look at absolutely everything.
What do you like to do when you're astral traveling?
I have met up with people, other people, astral travelers, and then we have gone somewhere together. That is a good way to start out if you have somebody to travel with. But we got to also remember that the astral vehicle has no intelligence of its own. It only works from memory, because the astral vehicle is semi-spiritual. It has an affinity to gravity and the body.
Aliens, your thoughts. Why are they here? What do they want? Why do most people then see these little scientific biological that we call grays hanging around?
Grays are, if not, grays may be a species. I've also heard that, well, I've heard several things about grays, that there are many types of grays, whether they're an actual species or both a species and drones, but basically biomechanical shells to house intelligences, out-of-body intelligences. This is the most compelling argument I've heard, that they're basically biorobots. The grays are biorobots, that the ones that are glassy-eyed and show up and do things without speaking or doing anything much telepathically. They just perform routine functions. They're probably droids of some kind. Whereas there are other species of grays that are taller, and there are many kinds of grays, apparently, many kinds of grays. And some are more intelligent than others, some are more advanced than others, and they all have different attitudes toward humans. So why do people see gray aliens? It's probably because they're the workforce of other alien species, including other gray aliens.
Are they so you believe they're the worker bees of all of the different major species out there?
That's the word on ufology street.
Okay. Have you been in contact with these grays?
No, I have not. And that reminds me of something. Part of my agreement as a very young child, I think, was that, or perhaps later when they visited me later, I'm sure they visited me my whole life, probably overnight dreaming, and or they can abduct people and bring you back to where a second has elapsed. You wouldn't even know you were gone. I mean, this is how crazy this gets.
David Grush was supposed to go into a skiff this weekend. I have had it confirmed that skiff has been canceled. The date I'm hearing is December 7th, but that it had nothing to do with David Grush. It had everything to do with another piece of legislation that was not voted on.
Yeah.
And that's why the delay had to happen. Your thoughts?
That's American politics. I mean, they approved this amendment for him to be able to get into the skiff. There were some issues around money and him traveling, and that's what I had heard. And not from his community, but just in the regular community. He couldn't go and get to the skiff because it was about money. And so that's a part of it, to get money. But the second part of it is to release the security access. And so it was 2 parts. And so I think that the other part of it was he was probably preparing for San Francisco. I mean, he's going to be there this weekend. So like you said, it wasn't maybe because of him, it's because of US politics, which is insane right now. US politics is insane right now. I mean, it is. It's at a level where nothing's getting done. We can't even pass an appropriations package and get a speaker of the House because we're so divided right now. So I'm not surprised.
Well, I'm not surprised either, on a number of reasons. But there's a lot of tinfoilers out there who are believing that we knew this was going to get canceled. We knew it wasn't ready. We knew. And I think it's more hopeful than wishful thinking than anything else. But
yeah, I'm feeling really down about it too. I'm really feeling like he's not going to get in the skiff at this point. Other people were feeling really positive about it. I think I said that on our first show. A lot of people have been feeling positive about it, that they raised this and got support, in the Congress. And I was just like, I didn't feel as positive about it as other people did in the community. And I don't want to be a downer, but it's been a major blockade. When you hear the Department of Defense come out and say no more hearings, they're going to do everything possible that they can to prevent him from getting in a skiff.
All right. That was the week in review, the S.O.R week in review. As we rewind time, go back and see the things that were covered within the world of Spaced Out Radio. So I appreciate you guys sticking with me there. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump into near-death experiences. We're going to talk about out-of-body experiences. I've had conversations with our guests today previously, and the topic goes deep, as most of you, I'm sure, already know. That's why you can't wait to get to it. And I understand that, and we're going to do exactly that. So what I would like to do is go ahead and bring in our guest for the night, none other than one of our very own, Mr. Eugene Braxton. Hey, Eugene, how are you today?
Hey, Rob, how you doing, my man?
Hey, I'm doing good, man. I'm so excited to have you here finally. We've talked behind the scenes and tried to coordinate things previously. We've had a small discussion on this topic before, and knew it would be a great one to have here at the after hour. So I'm so excited to have you here. One thing I wanted to do, Eugene, and I don't think even when we talked before, we've done this, but I would like to kind of get your background before we jump into this. So if you could kind of take us back to what led you up to where you're at now, any experiences you may have encountered on the way, and then we could jump into the topic at hand.
Okay, yes. Thanks, Rob. And I want to say hi to all the chat. They're pretty cool. I'm always in there talking to them. And I also go into your show when I can. And I want to say hi to Mirka. Yeah, mine started, my psychic life started at age 6. And it started with out-of-body experiences and that were interlaced with dreams and then lucid dreams. So I'd have 6 a night. Regular dreams, lucid dreams, or even nightmares, and then the out of bodies. And they would not be in any particular order. I might have an out of body first, a lucid dream second, then a nightmare third. The nightmares were few, but it happened so much between the ages of 6 and 16 that in those 10 years, at the lowest amount, I had 12,000 out of bodies. Some out of bodies were mixed with lucid dreams. Some out of bodies were mixed with regular dreams, or I was able to get into an out of body from a dream. So I got super used to that. Started at 6. By the time I was 13 or 14, I was really used to it and could control them. So at age 15, I had a near death. And the near death is like a spiritual out of body, where an atheist can have an out of body who doesn't believe in God. And the near death is a spiritual out of body. Atheists can have them too, but the spiritual one is a lot different. And a person can have a spiritual experience that's similar to a near death through a regular dream, a super dream, especially if the dream is filled with white light. So I had a near death, a pretty big one. Now, this was in 75, and near death research didn't start until 78. So there was no word for what had happened, but I knew that something real did happen. And I remembered a good amount. That helped from the out of bodies that I had just had, like the 12,000 from age 6 to 16. I recognized after I regained consciousness after death, I recognized slowly that I was still alive, but in spirit body form. And I looked around, realized that I existed somewhere in space and time, saw the body that was in my vicinity in which I had just drowned, and remembered what had just happened. And then it goes on from there. But I had a swimming near death, drowning. I used to play all kinds of sports, and I swam in competitive and water polo. And that's hard, where you really only use your legs because your arms are throwing that ball around. But I was in Ohio, lived in Ohio, and there wasn't a lot else to do, especially if you're in high school and junior high. Sports is big, like in the Midwest. So I had a long, detailed one, and I put it in the back of my mind because I was 15. I had already been having out-of-body experiences that was messing up my sleep cycles at night, so I wouldn't be able to get to sleep till like 4, then have to get up, go to track practice or something, and come home dead tired that night. But I was always a night person. So the near death, a couple of years after the near death, I was driving with a friend. And I used to live in Kent, Ohio, driving with a friend named Roger. And he and I saw a saucer-shaped UFO. The UFO was hovering over a baseball field that everyone played Little League baseball and nighttime softball. We were hypnotized for, it seemed like about, you couldn't really tell the time. It seemed like a short, brief time. But when we got back to the house where we were staying with the other people, who we all worked together, they said it was like 2 hours later. Roger doesn't remember anything, but Kent and that county that Kent is in is one of the hot spots of the country. And Ohio's pretty haunted too, along with Pennsylvania and California and other states. So what was happening that I was becoming and had become already occurrence prone, where one legitimate psychic experience sets off another one and another one and another one until the person can't stop it. But a lot of times by that time, they do get used to it. Initially, it's hard in the beginning, but every psychic experience that someone's has, even if it's in a dream, will produce an after effect. Just like for us, Rob, and for the Blacks, we have many near-death and near-death-like experiences. And we face that stuff every day. And there are others who maybe, heart attacks, comas, are the second and third most frequent near-deaths. But the near-death is an interesting thing. The near-death is a non-verbal, thought-actuated, symbolic, interdimensional realm, spiritual realm. It exists in the second heaven, which is heaven would be the third, earth would be the first, and that middle ground where near-deaths, UFOs, astral travel, and out of bodies, all that happens. Remote viewings in that mid-level between heaven and earth, that second heaven. And the afterlife is like a way station, in between, where you actually prepare to go higher and meet and then merge with God, which is the human being's basic spiritual drive, to meet, to see, and to mix back in from where they are from. And so the UFO, and I was about 19 when the UFO happened, but when I was about 13, I was mowing the lawn, and I was out there with my dad, and I had short pants on, and he said, "Eugene, where did you get those scars?" I said, "What scars?" And in between my thighs are two big, like, surgical scars that have staple-like ridges and you can stretch the scars, and they stretch right back like a rubber band to their original shape. So I would later work with Dr. Jacobs, who was the UFO World Authority in the 90s. And I showed him that. I showed him my scars in around 2009. And he said, yeah, those are abduction scars, because they're not like a normal scar. They're wide, but it's, maybe I'll take a picture and show the space stuff. But they're on both sides, like it's some kind of surgical operation. But they're unlike any, because they stretch and they go right. You can stretch them. It's almost like skin. But so anyway, there's been some UFO things happening. In my teens, I didn't like these psychic experiences. I kind of like that movie Carrie, where they're. But at age 9, I did ask God for them. I told God that if you show me all the invisible things I had seen, 9 and under, that I knew existed, I'll tell that no one else knows, no king or man knew. I will always tell people about you. And I forgot about the prayer. I really meant it. And 2 years later, they started heavily. So there's a lot of topics we could discuss. Among all of them, I mean, like out of bodies, we could talk about that for the whole program. And the out of body is like a little brother to the near death. The dream is a little brother to the out of body, and you can get from the dream to the out of body if you want to. So it all. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
No. I was gonna say, yeah, that all makes sense. Is, you know, we talked about this before, and kind of, so I told you about some of the experiences that I've had as far as you know, what, you know, and I haven't been able to. Well, talking to you kind of opened me up a little more to what these things might be, but I had experienced things like you know, coming to the realization that maybe our spirits or being or energy is actually traveling or going into is leaving our body at some point during the night, during a dream, and traveling to some other place where it appears in that moment that you're in almost like an alternate reality, because you know, especially in my case, where over the period of 2 weeks, then this happens in 2-week blocks over you know, with years in between the times. But whenever I go back into that particular dream, I go back to a place that is exactly as I remember it before. I mean, like down to the smallest detail. And so I know I'd asked you at one point, like, when you do that, are you stepping into that realm that you're talking about? So the one that's in between us and then heaven, that middle realm, is that realm used? Is that the same realm that we would go to in dream as we would in an out of body experience, and as we would in a near death experience?
It is with different levels within those topics or genres. Yeah, and a lot depends on the level of consciousness, the level of like conscious awareness, how aware the person is during the experience. That depends on how far you can see into each dimension. But each experience, the dreams, the out of bodies, do occur in that second, yes, heaven, between earth and heaven. They all, the majority of them occur there or have a connection to that dimension, multi-dimension, I should say.
Now, if you wouldn't mind, then, because just setting the stage for that, if you could go through starting at the basic level of dream, what that is likely to be, and then kind of work your way up, I think that would be cool and helpful for the audience.
Okay, so you want me to explain like what the ladders would be, maybe, or?
Yeah, starting from the lowest level.
Okay. Yeah, the lowest level, it's the most natural, of course. They're all natural, but it's the most common level, and it's the level that you can access all those other pathways by, is through the dreams. And here's a quote from the book I wrote, Dream Vision. It'll come back to me, but it does start with dreams. Oh wait, here it is. Human beings were created by the Creator in such a way. No, that's not it. I'll come back to the Dream Vision quote. It's a good one too. But yeah, it starts at dreams. All the real psychic experiences start at nighttime, and they occur in the sleeping and the bedtime hours. That's when the subtle awakenings of spirituality will come to the person. It usually starts audibly, where you hear a song as you're drifting asleep, or you might be walking down the street and you hear someone call your name and no one's around. That can happen in day or night, but they generally start at nighttime. Sleep disturbances, dreams, running dreams, dreams that you can't get out of, dreams, insomnia. But dreams can be super good once the person gets used to them, and there is a way you can control them, but it starts with the dreams, and that awakens the person to a new physio-spiritual environment where it's real, but it's in an invisible realm, and they're participating in it in their astral form. There is a dream world where the person is having just a regular dream and he does things in that dream world. Now, once the person realizes they're dreaming, and I have a quick quiz for everyone later too. Once the person realizes they're dreaming, the dream world expands into either the world that you want it to be, say like an amusement park, or you wake up in real life, but invisible. So that's pretty cool. It starts with the dreams. You awaken to that second self. Like human beings have a dual nature, one spiritual, one physical. And we mainly use the physical where the spiritual is 10 times more powerful. Our conscious mind that we're using now is the boss of both the spiritual body and the physical body. So we can tell our spiritual self, which is our higher self, what we want if you know how to do it, and it will go out while you're sleeping and go get what you want, and while you're awake. So dreams help us to get in contact with that other non-verbal side of ourselves. And you do interact with it in a non-verbal way where feelings and sensory impressions are more important than the measurements and how long it lasts and stuff like that. And the talking, you automatically know or communicate telepathically. After a while, like I used to have repeating dreams. There are all kinds of dreams, repeating dreams. I used to have this repeating dreams where I would ascend up a ladder or in an elevator, kind of just like you see in the cartoons with the Roadrunner. I go up to a high height. I find myself standing on a trapeze, and it was windy. I would look down at the trapeze and I could see the snow from the wind forming around my feet. And of course I would be bare feet, and eventually I would fall, and I would fall all the way down, and then before I hit, I would pop awake. This would happen night after night after night until I got used to it, and I said, wait a second, this is that same dream, so I know I'm not going to get hurt, so there's no need, so I'll just let myself fall. And when I let myself fall, I started to float, and then I said, well, maybe I can fly. And when I said fly, because it's thought actuated, I started flying. And I got so excited that I woke up. If anything during a dream alarms you too much or it's too emotional, you'll pop out of it and pop back into your bed because the physical body is more important. There's an interesting thing we could talk about later too, where how not only does the person have a dual consciousness and a dual body, physical and spiritual, we also have a dual nature and a dual mind. Like here's an example, we have two minds. and we must learn how to use them. Here's an example. The person's on the operating table, the doctor is cutting on them. Because of the anesthesia, they have a out of body. They pop out of their body. They wake up near the ceiling. You don't go too far from the body when you have the out of body. You go about 10 feet, about the height of a ceiling, maybe a basketball court, a basketball hoop. You look down because you're up high. You look down. So the patient has the out of body because of the anesthesia. They wake up, see the doctor working on their physical body, yet they realize that I'm here. They can feel the doctor sawing through their arm. And when they feel the saw, they can also, from the patient's view, look up at the doctor while he's sawing, and at the same time, in out of body form, look down at the saw to feeling it in both astral body and in the physical body. So that's a dual consciousness that exists at the same time, just depending on where you put your focus. But that shows the dual nature, dual minds. And so dreams help us get in contact with that higher self or invisible self. And through dreams, you can get to know it well. You can get to talk to it and speak its language because it's always there to listen. It is you, just the higher you. And when the two of those minds meet, so like it says in the Bible, they shall have anything in the world that they shall say, especially if you put God's name in. But when the person who's then is become a developed psychic gets to that level, there's not too much worldly things that they want. They're super into the higher invisible things because there's a lot of things happening there.
So that place, because I'm starting to think the way you put that together, as far as how these things are trained together, make me think that, does it simplify itself all the way down to the level of a daydream, or just anytime your mind is in that mode, are you experiencing leaving your body and going to whatever realm this is? And then also, is this realm a shared place? Before you answer that, I want to JSCO77 is wanting to know about where you hit a little earlier when you talked about maybe you could fly and then you were able to fly. If you could go back and kind of elaborate on that thought process.
Okay, now you had two questions before that.
Yeah. So those will hold, and then just this one, because I don't want to lose this one. I guess right a moment ago you talked about once you understood that you could kind of control this, you said maybe you could fly, and then you began to fly. So if you could kind of continue there, and then we'll get back to my questions in a minute.
Okay, yeah. The once you get out of your body, whether mentally or spiritually or physically, especially through a dream or an out of body, then you're in a realm that's thought actuated, and what you say can occur, or what you think too, and that occurs immediately. Like I was in an out of body form once, and I pictured myself up to my neck in quicksand. This must have been when I was like 12 or 13, still young. And suddenly I was on some island somewhere up to my neck in quicksand. So I immediately knew to picture myself on, a flat earth, a street corner. And then I popped there. So it's thought actuated. And I think one of your questions, or other things there, a lot of times something will come along, bobble along and interact with you. And you interface with it. You don't really talk with it, but you kind of like Spock's mind meld with it. You absorb it and merge with it. In that realm, there's the person has the ability to merge or meld with things. The out of body brings it out, and it will also stay with you in the physical world when you wake up. This merging ability. Here's an example. So I was sitting in this tree one day while my son played with his friends, down the hill, and a squirrel was across about 15 yards away in another tree. And the squirrel was staring right at me. So I stared right back at the squirrel. And I shot out of my body into his, saw myself sitting there from his viewpoint, and then shot back into mine within like a second.
Wow.
Within 1 second. And so when you have enough spiritual or even psychic experiences, that especially out of body, you have this merging quality. That's where people can apprehend everything all at once, because you merge into it and you absorb it all at once. And that all at once knowing, that's actually the basis, or like the secondary tenet for mysticism, with the first tenet being like to achieve a direct conscious union and knowledge of God. And you can do that over and over and over. But the difference between a psychic and a mystic is that the psychic has abilities that he neither understands nor fully controls, where the mystic has had all those experiences, haunted houses, UFOs, abduction, and understands them and can control them. But a lot of psychics or developing psychics get caught up in the abilities, and which actually stunts them, because they stay at the abilities level. And where there's so many higher progressions, spiritually speaking, that they could go. And you don't want to get, if you develop the powers, and these dreams out of bodies and stuff will bring psychic powers to the person naturally. Everyone has them, but the dreams and out of body experiences will increase them a lot, where they will become noticeable. And here's the progression, like you were talking about. The dreams, once you get used to them, experience them, and can semi-control them, then out of bodies will begin to creep into, because they're related. They're like cousins or a baby brother and big sister. The dreams lead to out of bodies. And once you start having the out of bodies, even just one, then you'll begin to have your psychic experiences, not just at nighttime with being paralyzed and all that. The psychic experience will begin to happen in the daytime too. And then you'll begin to be psychic 24/7 at night when you do your breathings, meditational breathings, and in the day because of the after effects of all that practice and the various experiences that you have. So the person wants to move up all those levels. There's a lot, just like you see those pictures where there are a lot of steps leading up into the white light. And the person wants to get to all those levels, and there are physical levels, moral levels, and then the spiritual levels. But there's a lot out there. There's a lot to know and a lot that you can do. And then there's the glory of seeing God, mixing with him, merging with him. Like here's a quote too. Highly focused concentration combined with advanced meditation produces a merging into things where one becomes one with one's object of focus. And once you get to the out-of-body level or a powerful spiritual dream, those abilities will begin to blossom. And there are other things that you can do to bring them out, like crystals and breathings to enhance them. And once you have them, there are a lot of things you can do to have them super strong. Like I went to a haunted house, had a rough experience the first time, figured out what was happening, went back and drained it of as much energy as I could. 6 months later, I started to research with the first of the 3 world authorities. So you can get abilities and power. You can get anything you want. A lot depends. You just have to do it in the right way. Like no one can get these abilities and then go use them to do something bad to someone. You'll get struck down by a truck when you're least expecting. So the higher the person is, the more ability and spiritual knowledge they'll have. And the less of the worldly things they will want. You have to live in it, but you don't really want that stuff.
Yeah, it's really weird because, talking about, and I'm early into this subject as far as figuring out what all this would mean. That's why I enjoyed the conversation that we had and knew this would be a great one. But I've always wondered, right? I've wondered as far as the astral travel goes, the lucid dreaming, the leaving your body when you sleep. I totally already am on board with that. But then there were other things like, if you've ever tried to wake someone up and for whatever reason they won't wake up, and it would appear like they're not there. You know what I mean? As far as they're not in there, and I'm wondering, like, is that a moment where you're witnessing someone who may be on one of those travels or having one of those experiences?
Yeah, that could be. They have some super heavy sleepers, and then they have people who don't even snore. And like you said, you can hardly wake them up. And I remember, we did have a good long talk on your show. Yes, the call-in show. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
but a lot of people, they don't know a lot about sleep disorders, like the medical doctors. And I've been to sleep clinics. They don't really, spiritually speaking, know what sleep paralysis is. And I'll explain it because it's also connected to these dreams, out of bodies, and other things. It's also connected. At the moment of death, we have that rigor mortis is actually sleep paralysis that paralyzes our body so that the spiritual body can come up out of it. When we go to sleep, and the doctors, they don't understand it, but they know somehow it works. The patient is sick. All right, here, take these pills, go home, rest for 3 days, and then call me. He knows that it's not really the pills that's doing the thing. The pills is mainly kind of for the person's mind. They may give too strong of pills anyway. But the doctor knows that it's the sleep. He doesn't know why, but it's the sleep that recharges and restores the person to full health. Not so much the doctor. You do have some expert doctors who do save lives. I used to work in a hospital, but it's generally the sleep and the fasting. We'll get into that too later. That's why they tell people don't eat before the operation. And they know, but they don't know fully why. But with the sleep, when we go to sleep, we have sleep paralysis for 3 different reasons. But when we go to sleep, the main reason, the life-sustaining reason, is because it's not the sleep that recharges us. Our spirit body is like a battery. And when we go to sleep, whether we dream or not, the spirit body comes out flat usually. It can stand itself up. It will stand itself up. It's still kind of paralyzed and can't move, but you can think. Especially if you do the continuous breathing in and out exercises. You can literally be awake and see this happening. When we sleep, everyone's spirit body, it happens twice a night. You go out and then you come in the morning. You go out, you recharge in the electromagnetic energy that's in the air. It's called prana. The Indians call it prana, the Asians call it chi, but there's an electromagnetic energy in the air, the force, that we recharge in, and then in the morning or when recharging is complete, we go back down. The lighter you eat a dinner, the better you can recharge. And we can get into all that stuff. But so that's why that's the first primary reason for sleep paralysis. Because if we were awake while we saw our physical body coming out of the bed, or we felt ourselves up near the ceiling and we looked down and saw our real body down there, we would freak out and wake up and we would never get sleep. So it paralyzes us when we do go to sleep. It might even throw a dream in there. Body's paralyzed, spirit body comes out, and person recharges this astral and then comes back in. Now, if something happens, someone walks in the door, a burglar or something, the person will wake back up because the subconscious watches both spirit body and physical. But that's how we're recharging. That's the real reason for sleep.
And that makes total sense. I mean, and even going back to like a situation where you can't wake someone up regardless how hard you try. And usually they'll tell you the next day that they were exhausted. Like, I tried to wake you up, you didn't get up. Yes. It was like, man, I was just totally zapped, exhausted. So that would make total sense on why they wouldn't have been responsive in that moment, is because they had to recharge. which makes total sense. But what we'll do, we have a lot more to get into, and I'm gonna make a reference too, because I'll save it for after the break. But we're gonna go ahead and pause for the break. We will be right back here with our fantastic guest Eugene Braxton, jumping into more on near-death experiences, out-of-body experiences, astral travel, the whole gamut, plus more, only in After Hour number 2 on Spaced Out Radio. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio after hour number 2 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And we will be continuing with our guest, Eugene Braxton, in a moment here. We're going to jump into some audience questions as well. So get those ready. Make sure those are in all caps. But first, I want to talk about the S.O.R fan party coming up, Reno, Nevada, Silver Legacy, May 10th through 12th, 2024. Let me let you know how this is going to run down. So on May 10th, on Friday, there will be Jessica, Dave, and me, Mr. Rob G, hosting 1 hour each. And then after the show is going to be the VIP party. All right. Saturday, we're going to do the ghost hunt with Merle. Right. And then Saturday night, we're going to do the UFO Skywatch with Melinda Leslie. And then Sunday, if you guys are still around, it's pretty much going to be like a free-for-all hangout situation where who knows what we'll end up doing. You can come out and see S.O.R fan favorites like Science Bob, Lala Bright, Tim Senor, Jim Goodall, Melinda Leslie, Merle, Lorian Fenton, Dr. Michael P. Masters, and more. Come meet Dirty Filth, Jessica Jones, and I want to meet you too. So come out and meet me. Everyone is invited. You want to eat breakfast for dinner with me? Let me know. We could go ahead and set that up. It's going to be $60 per ticket. $100 ticket gets you all the VIP and swag bags. Rooms have been on sale recently for as low as $139 per night. And that's actually triple the price of Las Vegas from the previous year. It's the perfect Christmas gift. And yes, we do understand this happens during Mother's Day weekend. But hey, your wife deserves a nice holiday as well. Sign up today. Email your request for tickets to info@spacedoutradio.com. We cannot wait to meet you. We cannot wait. So make sure you guys get that reserved. You get it all set up. And we're going to jump back in here with our guest, Eugene Braxton, here in just a moment. Let me just make sure you guys all know that I am saving your messages. I have been seeing these come through the chat. Hopefully I haven't missed any. Let me go back a little bit. But make sure that you use the caps. That way I know this is a question for Eugene, and we will ask those a little bit later on. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead, jump back in here with Mr. Eugene Braxton. And Eugene, so we kind of left off on, a movie reference that I was going to use. And I just thought about it recently because, it would appear, and maybe you can answer this question first, I guess, in this realm that we end up going to during these experiences, whether it's dreams, near-death experience, out-of-body experiences, in that particular realm, is that a shared environment? So is this somewhere that I may come across you or some other sort of entity within this realm?
Yeah, it depends on what level or what experience you're having. Like in a dream, usually they're all private, but occasionally there are other entities. They happen in both, but not all the time. Usually you do have your privacy, but occasionally someone may just, like in a dream, someone may just appear there or come out of the mist or be in the scene, and you interact with them. And then they seem to disappear, or you disappear to the other person. Like whenever the person's levels of consciousness or levels of consciousness awareness changes, then, all right, here's a quote, and this is about this from the book. Whenever a person's levels of consciousness, whenever there's a change in the levels of consciousness, there's also an equal and corresponding change in the physiology of the invisible spirit body. And at the same time, acting as a triad, there is a corresponding change in dimensional space and time. So when thought changes the physiology of the spirit body, and both of those combined change the dimension or location. So like in a dream, you may be talking to someone and they may disappear either because they woke up to the reality of where they were, or you woke up to the reality of where you were. It's not rare. It happens when you're in a dream dealing with someone and you disappear from them because your level of consciousness changed, or they just disappear from you. But occasionally, not all the time, there are other entities or thought forms that you interact with. Like you may see a plant sprout out of the ground. I didn't see that movie with Leonardo, that dreamscape or world movie, but you have to control your thoughts in that world, because whatever you think in the dream world becomes reality. Some people mix the dream world with the out-of-body world and with the lucid dream world. The lucid dream world is when you're fully awake, but there are entities, but usually you have your own private world. And if you interact with someone in your dreamscape or dream world, you can have them removed, or you can remove yourself from that scene just by thinking about it.
See, the weird thing is for me, and obviously I'm just working through this with you and trying to answer some of my own questions as well about this, but it makes me wonder, right? Because just for instance, in the place that I go to, that I've been going to for the last probably 20 years, and it happens in, like I said before, 2-week blocks where every day for 2 weeks I'm going to the exact same place, and then 10 years will pass, and then I'll have that same series of dreams again in another block. And the thing that I would want to know, because normally, like when I was first having these up until recently, I would travel to those places. There would be people there, but there would be these people I'd never met before. And I'm talking about full detailed human beings, apparent would seem like, in these dreams that I'm interacting with. And it's just the questions that I had about that was, are these things or beings that I'm meeting or interacting with in these dreams, are they actual entities or beings in this realm? Like, are they in this realm, or are they at this place that I end up traveling to? Do they exist there? Because with that, putting that aside, when I've gone now recently back to this place, I brought my girl with me, right? And anytime I have these dreams, when I wake up, I immediately go to her while it's fresh on my mind, and I tell her exactly what happened. But this last, which is probably within the last 6 months, I had another cluster of dreams going back to the same place with the same streets, with the same details in the dream down to the finest detail, interacting with the same people. But the only difference is that she was with me, and while I was in there, I was kind of showing her these things because I was already familiar with these things. And I was kind of walking her through, watch what happens when we go here. Like, I already know what's going to happen here. And we're doing this as we go through the dream. I wake up in the morning and I talk to her about that. And I tell her she's familiar with this dream sequence that I've had. But then this time I tell her you were there. But then she doesn't recall any of that. So so I guess that's a two-part thing. Like, are these beings that you encounter in the dream, do they exist somewhere out in that realm? And then is it possible that she was brought in, like I brought her in with me, and she was actually there, but she just ends up not recalling it the next day?
Yeah. So you're saying, you're saying that it could possibly be a shared dream, but she didn't remember.
Right. I'm wondering, or did I just kind of manifest her, or kind of did my mind bring her into this, or was it shared? Yeah.
Now you say, is this a repeating dream or like a series of evolving dreams?
These are repeating dreams normally. So normally it's the same things happen in the dream, but everything down to the finest detail. This last set was different because I went back to the same place, but I was able to almost step out of the automatic process of the dream and kind of step aside with her and kind of walk her around the dream and say, hey, this is where this happened. And I was able to, like, within the dream, step aside from the normal process of that dream and be able to direct, which is wild to even
Yeah, you
say.
can see how complicated it gets. Yeah, to
But
even
I'm like,
describe. Yeah,
but I'm like, is this because it feels so real and authentic when you're there in the moment that I'm almost convinced that you are actually going to wherever these places are in this realm. And it's just like, you know, when you think about the beings or people that you come across in those types of dreams, are they people that are brought in from normal reality, or are they people that exist only in those realms? And I don't know if you kind of know where I'm going with
I
that,
know
but
what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, a dream will have like fillers. If you're walking down the street, it would seem weird that it'd be no one around. So the mind makes people in the dream scene to make it seem real, or the dream makes it, or the person makes it up. A person could be having a dream. You ever had a dream where you're walking, say you walk in a store or a bank, and you ask someone something, and they act like they don't hear you, and they act like they don't even see you, and you try talking to someone else, and they don't see you either. That's actually a sign that you're having an out of body, and that you're invisible in real life, thinking that you're awake. So,
okay.
but with your girl, any kind of repeating dream, the person should watch. And that's interesting that you brought her along, because she possibly could have been there with you, but it's more likely that you manufactured it up, maybe to see her response. A lot depends on what happened in the
Yeah.
dream and how it ends. That's always important. You know, you could try something, try to have just kind of like you did, try to have a dream where you're almost remote viewing that dream. That's kind of technical, but you want to merge back into the memory of that dream to see the reality of it. But if it's a repeating dream, then it's important, or something that's pressing on your mind.
Okay. That's good. So yeah, and it was like almost like out of body experience within the dream, because there were, you know, a set sequence of things that would occur in the dream, and then in this last set, I was able to set her aside before these things happen in the dream and kind of advise her, like, this is about to happen, then that's about to happen, and then those things happen in the dream. So okay, that makes a lot of sense. Now when it comes down to out of body experiences versus near death experiences, and I know we've dabbled on this before in the background, but I asked you this question, I'll ask you again. When you have that near death experience, so you flatlined or you've had some sort of traumatic incident happen where you are clinically dead, and you are now in this intermediate realm where you can look back on, but you're not actually all the way through, because you actually end up being able to come back. So is that, and I think you answered this earlier, because you said there's the realm and then there's heaven where you actually end up going. So I guess that kind of answers it. But I'm just wondering if this is the same place that you experience when you're in an out of body experience, and then versus a dream as well. Is this all the same realm?
It is,
Okay.
but there are different levels or dimensions in each realm, and they're not physical where you can see them like steps or platforms. They're invisible layers or levels that you ascend to according to the level of conscious awareness, how aware you are of what's happening to you right then. Like we're super sensitive. Like the person could be fully asleep, and then if you lightly rub them on the leg, neck, or stomach, they'll wake up. So we're way more sensitive than we think. Yeah, so there's levels in between levels in between levels. And according to how aware the person is and how high their intention is, also the desire is important. Like if a person wants to have a spiritual dream tonight and get in contact with God and get some powers and abilities, that they have to have a strong desire, like an addict or a prisoner who wants to get out of jail. The desire can trump. People always talk about intention, but you can have all the intention you want, but you have to have the strong desire to get to the goal.
Now, with that being said, okay, so
Rob, here's that quote about the dreams. Dreams are super important. They're the gateway to all the other realms, and that's the best place to start because it's natural and you can go at your own pace. But dream vision, the things we see in our sleep, is the primary method by which human beings experience communication with the Creator. That's true too. You can access God through the dreams. That's the normal way. And then the out of bodies and the other things are higher. But dreams is the basis. And you get that, it'll lead you into the out of bodies. The out of bodies will lead you into other psychic abilities that will you'll become occurrence prone. They'll come onto you. And then you begin to have the daytime experiences too.
So here's another part of that thought process. I wondered, you know, because when we talk about consciousness and, you know, what makes us is sort of like we're energy. We're essentially energy, and that the universe is an interconnected source of energy. And I guess it goes back to that movie reference that I was mentioning earlier, where there was this B-grade movie called Shocker. I don't know if you remember, with a guy prisoner with an electric chair, and then now he was able to come through all the outlets and everything. So he was able to be everywhere at once, traveling through energy. And sort of if we're energy, the universe is energy as well. Everything around us is energy, even going all the way out there into the cosmos. So with that thought process, then this realm that we end up going into, is it possible that this realm also stretches out into the cosmos and all other places where when you go to these places or you travel through this realm, that you may find yourself off planet, or like, for instance, the place that I end up going to, is it possible that that place doesn't necessarily exist here on Earth, but potentially exists somewhere else out there?
Yes.
So because that's a crazy thing to think about. I mean, when you put it together, because when you think about how realistic that these experiences are and how you're actually aware of what is happening in the moment, that it makes sense that it could be somewhere off planet. And so I guess that's a good thing to know, because I really feel like, you know, dreams, like there's more to these experiences, not just dreams, but all these things, out of body experiences, near death experiences. The thing that we experience while we're there is something that kind of resonates, you know, universally, just all the way out to the furthest reaches of the universe. So okay, that's a good thought process. So then how do you, like, what is the difference between having a near death experience versus not waking up again and having to cross over into the, I guess, the heaven side? Like, what is the differentiating factor that determines whether you stay in this realm and then come back, or whether you go to the realm to transition over to the next space.
I mean, like if that silver cord, there's supposedly there's an umbilical, they call it the silver cord, but there's a spiritual umbilical cord that connects our astral body to our physical body. And when a person has a near death, that cord is damaged, but not permanently severed. And what was the question?
Like, what ends up being the determining factor, whether what allows you to be able to come back? So you've had this traumatic incident where your physical body has been damaged medically, or to some trauma, and you find yourself in this middle realm where you're out of body, or N.D.E at the time. What is the determining factor that allows that energy to come back over to this side versus not being able to come back to this side and going to the transitional, the heaven side, or the side where you're never coming back?
Yeah, I mean, God. We don't have any control over at the moment of death. And I'm going to have to tell you about my near death too. There's a lot to it, and you can learn a lot about the near death through that, because the structure of all the near deaths are basically, they're individualized, but the structure, the pattern of them are all basically the same.
Okay.
But and your question again was, go ahead. What did you just ask?
Yeah, just basically what allows what determines.
I mean,
yeah.
God. There's a creator. Like, here's the thing too. I work with 3 world authorities. These are the top scientists in the world in their field. 2 in near death, and then 1 in the UFO things. When it came to God, and university professors, no matter how big they are, they're not really allowed to believe in God, especially if they're in a scientific bent, like Grayson, Atwater, and Dr. Jacobs, the UFO. He didn't believe in spirituality in any regard until I talked him into it in 2014. But they're not really allowed to say God, especially back then. This is 1999. Especially in regards to a scientific research. So they called what they found the being that we would call God, they called the creator. And they withheld the raw data from the public about the creator because it represented a God force or the opposite of a God force. And talking about God like that, or the opposite of God, wasn't happening on college campuses and universities back in the early 2000s. So they called it the controller. This controller, on its own volition, roams the paranormal corridors, seeking to do what it will. And we would call this controller God. The scientists call it the controller, and I call it the controlling agent in charge. Let's see. Here's a quote about the controlling agent in charge. Now, this quote sums up my near death and the research. And I should be able to remember it by heart. Because he controls our life and death, it is the controller. Because he cannot be easily seen, he is the agent. It is he, God, the controlling agent in charge. Like a spiritual hunter, that I look for God's spiritual tracks throughout my N.D.E, completely seeing him, completely sensing him, but never seeing him until stage 12, the final stage before resurrection. In time, the controller's footprints began to appear before my physical eyes and my spiritual vision. Stalking God's spiritual tracks involved analyzing a prevailing truth beyond the illusionary veils in several of the near-death stages, but confirming the essence identity of God could only be attained by merging back into my near-death and then merging into God's present essence as well. And confirmation was established. So there's a lot to it, and I'm going to explain what happened in my death, because we talk about the death process, we talk about the life review, and it kind of explains the whole near death. Is that cool with you?
Yeah, definitely. Go ahead and go with that. And I'm gonna do something right here. Yeah, go ahead and take us with that right now.
Okay. So the near death, like I said, a symbolic, nonverbal, thought actuated world. It's the big brother to the out of body. So I used to swim on a swim team, play all kinds of sports. We had like a youth group picnic. I jumped off a dock into the lake. Now, I played water polo and competitive swimming. Plus, we swam in the waterfalls and dams in Ohio, so I could swim like a shark. Jump off the dock, come down straight with my feet pointed like a diver, and I got stuck in the muck underneath the dock. I was about maybe the height of about 10, 11 feet down, the height of a basketball hoop. I was stuck up to the knee, could not get out. I yanked and jerked and pulled, and then suddenly, held my breath as long as I can, and then suddenly, I swallowed what seemed like 2 trash cans full of the lake water, and was suddenly full up with water, and with my arms straight out like that. I fell over and bent at the knee. The knee was still stuck in. That's when the death process started. There was a struggle for life and death, as I still struggled to get out, waited for someone to swim down and get me. And then there was, that didn't last long, the struggle for life and death. The primal fear comes in, where the person realizes they're dying, and they're gripping and grabbing to stay awake. The pain also sets in, or can set in. And along with this pain, paralysis will slowly creep into the person. Just like in an out of body, it starts usually at the feet and comes slowly up, almost imperceptibly. You can't even feel it, but you slowly realize you're becoming paralyzed. Your eyes are still awake. My eyes were still awake. This was the struggle for life and death was now over. The pain was extreme. I could see, but couldn't move my eyes. I could only see straight ahead. I could only see with my eyes, but I couldn't move my eyes. I could see peripheral, but I couldn't move them. So I was locked in place, like you see in the movies where the killer kills the person and then they're frozen. In reality, the person is still slowly dying. And so they can still see the killer as he's zipping up his coat and putting on his hat and getting ready to leave. They're still not fully dead. Paralysis sets in fully then. You can see, and that's why some of those killers shut the eyes, because they feel that the clown may still be looking at them. And a lot of times they are. Or if they're on the side, but the vision is locked. You can see on the side, but you can't move your eyes. You can feel the kidneys, the livers, all the major organs shutting down. And you begin to automatically know which is which. That's the spleen, that's the kidney, that's the liver. These are the lungs. And even though you might not have had no knowledge of where those organs were, you're beginning to drift into that realm of that second heaven or that invisible world. And the consciousness slows down. And whenever the consciousness slows down, time alters too. And when you're going into a lower level of consciousness, time slows down or seems to slow down. With me, I could feel the organs shutting off, and they shut off softly like candles. They didn't hurt. You could just feel that they were gone. The struggle of life or death was over, and I had given up and was ready to die. There's a vacuum-like pull when you're near death. That's just like when you're trying to stay awake and you're being pulled to sleep. There's an electromagnetic vacuum-like pull that's sucking you. It's sucking the life out of you. And you're going to, in time, surrender and release unto it. I was still hoping that someone would come down, but I could feel the body shutting down. The heartbeat and the eyes and the hearing were the only things still remaining. I could hear them playing up there, splashing and stuff. And the heartbeat began to slower and slower. The eyes were locked in position. I was super cold. Then suddenly, Rob, the pain went completely away, and I had an overwhelming sense of peace that you hear people feeling. And I wasn't afraid to die, and I was ready to die. The pain suddenly stopped, and I actually felt warm and good. And this was the final stages of that death process: surrender, a complete paralyzation, and then the losing of the organs. The breathing had been stopped, but the organs were still alive. And apparently a person can stay in that state for up to 6 minutes, or even longer in some rare cases. But within 6 minutes, and that oxygen doesn't get to the brain in that time, you're gonna come back kind of like vegetable-like. But things were slowing down, and the heartbeat was slowing down. That was the only thing I could see what kind of help I had. Finally, I realized that the heartbeat went from like boom, 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 to 1 every 3 seconds, 1 every 5 seconds, 1 every 10. And then suddenly, it was cut off. Everything went black. I had flatlined dead. And there was no movement, no sound, complete unconsciousness, as if a person were in a coma, in a coffin, and in a coma. Nothing, no consciousness, no nothing. Then suddenly, I popped awake, and I was floating outside of my body. I didn't realize I was outside of my body, but I was floating still in the water. Everything was green from the lake. And I looked down and I saw myself and realized and remembered what had just happened, that I had died. My knee was still stuck in the muck, and I was swaying with the current. Also, when I died and when I hit the bottom of that lake, the muck of the lake came up and covered me like a cold death blanket. And suddenly the pain stopped. I had the flat line. I popped awake. And I call that the realization. I regained consciousness after death. And then what happened after that? Was the realization of time and space. I realized that I did exist because I was thinking. And I didn't know what time. I realized the space I was in, the astral space. I was floating and I was thinking. But I didn't really realize the time I was in. So I looked down, saw my dead body in the same position, and I realized I was in the time of death in the astral dimension. Right after that realization, I popped to another location. And in the out of body, you can suddenly be somewhere and then pop somewhere else. And when you don't control it or don't make it happen, you just go from here to there. That's a lapse of consciousness. And that's something to watch for in dreams, in out of bodies, or in anything. It's when you're doing something in one area or level, and then you're suddenly somewhere else. So what you want to watch for is that something could have happened between there and here. Lapses of consciousness also happen in UFO abductions, and a lot can happen in those lapses. So I wake up, I realize that I am alive, I see my body and confirm it, and then I pop into a life review room. Now I'm still floating. Floating is natural in that afterlife or in the out of body or dream world. You just have to think about it. In the out of body, you don't have to think. You're naturally floating and you don't even realize it. You don't take any consideration. It feels normal. So I'm floating in this round room, approximately the size of someone's living room, maybe 20 by 20. And if you've been to the amusement park and you've seen those round things that you get on and you stand up and it spins around and around, then the bottom drops and you're still holding on. It was it was like that, a little bigger, but I was floating in the middle, the 3 screens, everything, I saw 3 screens, everything I ever said, thought, or did. And they were all happening all at once. And my mind's eye could perceive each one, depending on which one I looked at. Whatever one I looked at, that screen raised up a little bit. Everything I thought, said, or did, even in private things I thought, in the closet or something, were shown to me. And that was that was actually the creator or God showing the person what they did, so that in the next stage after the life review, they could not say they didn't do that because God had just showed it to you, the evidence. And it's literally like a replay of your life. And you feel the things that you did, good or bad, to others. You feel them as though you take the place and you become them. But 3 things were asked of me in the life review. What have you done to help yourself or to improve yourself? What have you done for others? And have you always believed in me? And when those questions were asked from an unseen presence, I noticed off to the side that there was a secondary or a son of God messenger type figure exhorting God in my behalf that I had done well in life and deserved to go to the higher levels. The first half of the near-death experience is basically covers the person's life, the life review, the realizing that they exist. Then the second half goes into that higher realm. So after did the life review, the secondary Christ or a Muhammad-like figure was exhorting God in my behalf to let me in. And then once I was asked, have you always believed in me, as the third question? And he already knew the automatic answer was yes. When I said yes, the scene changed again. And I found myself, another lapse of consciousness, found myself on a beach-like setting, just like in Contact with the Jodie Foster thing. And as I looked over the horizon of the beach, I saw a planet-sized sun coming up. The sun was the color of the sun, orange. And I could feel the reverberations I could feel the energy, the power, the ribbons of energy from this sun. As the sun moved across the sky, and it went upward as it moved across, just like a sun would, I rose from it. I rose in unison with it. And without seeing it move, the sun went from here to here to here, until it was about 50 yards away from me. And that time I was up in the air, just like the cover of my book, up in the air, facing the sun with arms outstretched, just like the cross. Although at the time I had my near death, I was only 14 or 15. I wasn't into any kind of like religion like that. And I literally just went to the Sunday youth groups and stuff because we had a lot of girls in our class who also went to the church. So we kind of went for them. Me and some of the other. But in the air, as this sun sphere came to me, and it was actually a sphere of consciousness. It's living, it's alive, and in the Muslim Quran, they in their afterlife also see a sun sphere and interact or interface with the sun sphere. The person will see God in the image that they know him to be. I saw God as the sun sphere, and that's literally because the cosmos is made of planets that are round. So if you have a round symbol in an out-of-body experience, that's a good holistic type of image. I recognized it as God. The sun sphere went from orange imperceptibly, where you didn't see it change, it was just a different color. Orange, it went from orange to red. And as the colors changed, the orange was for healing. The red was, the rays shot out into me, and I absorbed them and can feel them. And these are light rays, and everyone knows that light carries information. But these orange rays were rays of healing. When the sun changed to a red, that was God's forgiveness. He forgives you first before he decides whether or not you're going to get in. God's forgiveness. Also, these rays were healing, forgiving, and loving, and nurturing. And they were also cleansing me for the final stage, the white lights, where I would pass through and then get to see God. Now, the white lights was the strongest of all the colors, and all the colors have an effect. The red one was like an ecstatic, pulse-pounding, rapturous, orgasmic type thing. the undulations from that red sun spear were so strong that they were actually something to watch out for. And here's a quote from the book that concerns human beings were created by the Creator in such a way that ecstasy is the only dependable mode of conduct for sentient beings. Ecstasy, a high spiritual level, is also associated with that transformation between life and death. So in those spiritual realms, whether it be a dream out of body or near death, always watch out for a super arousing passions. You want to be in the Mr. Spock-like mind frame where you don't even really, you're only observing. You don't have feelings. You're only looking and observing without emotion. Because then when you do it that way, you feel it even more. And without the emotion clouding the judgment, and in that world, it would be creating illusionary veils. Without the emotion, you can see the exact reality of what you're dealing with, what you're interfacing with, and what you're absorbing. And just like that merging quote, high concentration combined with advanced meditation produces a merging into things where you become one with what you're looking at. And just like merging with that squirrel, I was having an out of body one night. I was astral. I woke up while flying. It was flying down a football field. It was snowing. It was in real time. I stopped, something stopped me at the edge of the football field. There was a clump of, there was a clump of grass or bushes there. And I sensed something was there that was alive. And I looked and couldn't see it, even with my astral eyes. Then suddenly I knew exactly what it was. And I swooped in without, involuntarily swooped in because I wanted to know what it was. And then came back into my body and saw that it was some kind of rabbit or small creature like that. But that merging quality, and it's the same way in the near death, where you merge with God. So after the red lights, forgiveness, overwhelming love, it was super passionate and orgasmic to the point where it should be watched. And I was watching it. Because remember that ecstasy can be a method, a mode of conduct or control. Human beings have an ecstatic thing happening with them, but it can be used to control them too, like the lab rats or that Pavlov's dog. So the white lights was the final light on the ascension up towards heaven. And the person is gravitationally pulled, which is interesting, and also is striving to go upward. It's always a natural urge to ascend to a higher spiritual level. The person instinctively wants to get and merge and mix back in with he who has created them. It's the main thing there, and it's the only thing there, and it's the highest thing. The higher you go towards seeking it, the cleaner you become, the more of yourself you become. So the final stage in the white light was the strongest. This is the light that totally purifies the person, because purifies the person and elevates the person. And this is where all the knowledge, this is where the cosmic consciousness comes in, where the person feels one with the universe and one with everything. And you are, because the spirit body goes through several deviations as it goes higher throughout these levels. It gets finer and finer and finer until you're at that level where the white lights come in and you're about half visible. You're more solid with the red lights and on the lower stages. But the white lights, they purify, amplify. The person has that universal knowledge where you know things automatically and at once. And you also feel that you're one with everything, and you are. But that's primarily, that white light is primarily to enhance the person and to fully clean them, spiritually clean them, where they're spotless, because you have to be in that condition before you meet God. We're in the too low of a condition to naturally go up ourselves. So he cleans us. That's where people get healed. That white light purifies us, and it's soft. It felt like, like you're going into a cloud, but and you can literally feel it. That white light, which can be had from a dream, is the most, you can't get any closer to God besides the white light until you go and be with God. So if you can make it to a white light, you'll be a completely different person. And you can do that through a dream. After the white light was God. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just want to ask because first of all, just super amazing in the detail that you're going with here is actually very deep, touching a lot of people with the words that the way that you're describing this. And it's I have to ask this question. This has been and maybe I don't know, maybe there is another side. I would think there's another side to it as well. So in this, when you were in that transitional period, so you're talking about the path of leaving behind your physical body, or the physical body, the process of it dying essentially, and then the what you experience on your way to that light, or to being in that light. Is there ever a situation where you end up being susceptible to darker forces, or things that could you be led in another way? Could you be taken? And I guess this isn't just for near death experience, because I would assume in that answer would probably be yes. But even in just an out of body experience, just anytime you're in that realm, I guess even down to dreaming astral, when you're actually traveling, because you have left your body and you're in that realm, are you susceptible to being taken by any darker energies that may exist there? And the examples that I use, and somebody actually put an even better one in the chat. My example was like what you see in the movie Ghost, when those dark spirits kind of consume you and drag you into a void. And I guess Flatliners is what was mentioned as well, which kind of describes it, but I think more so Ghost, when you're in that realm where you could go the route that you're describing and go into the light. Is there also the chance that you could be taken the other way while you're in that realm?
Yeah, in the near death, there's people who have like bad or hellish, scary near deaths, but they're in the minority. Maybe there might be 15 to 20%, 15. It's on the low end, and those can be frightening. And a lot of times, it's because of what they did in life. So when you do die, the first thing you want, and the first thing you're elated for, there are two things: that you're alive and that there is a God. Because there's going to be a decision made that where you're going to go. It's all the near-death events that lead up to a final judgment, a fair and good one. Where with him, if you just believe, then you are cool. You're in, right? Automatically, no waiting. You're in. So as far as the entities getting into the experience, it's more likely to happen in a dream and then an out of body. Super less likely in a near death, because God is in that, and those things can't deal with that. They flee. Even if you think about God, especially if you believe in him, it's like a light that they can see far away, and they zip the other way, because everything bows down to that controller. Yeah. But in dreams, especially if someone's troubled mentally when they're awake, it can result in nightmarish dreams where you're being chased and you can't seem to get away. A lot of that's why the person has to have a sound psychological state, because these things are for people who easily fractured or semi-fractured should not get involved in these things, even though their mind states are partially in those realms. They shouldn't practice the breathings and stuff. You have to be fully healthy, like an athlete who is spiritually religious, like that.
Okay.
But yes.
So what we're going to do, because in about 5 minutes, we'll be going to a second break, And I heard you're sticking around for hour 3. Am I correct by saying that, Eugene?
If
Do we
you
have
will
you?
have me, I will stick around.
Oh,
Yes.
okay. Well, that's a fact. So with that being said, we're I'm gonna have you lead into the break, but I just wanted to let everybody know we're gonna be asking the questions that we have taken from you and any others that you add to the list here in hour 3. But then also we're gonna have a special guest come on with us as well that really wants to probe your mind and ask you some great questions too. So
What is
we're
this?
gonna be doing that in hour 3. So as soon as we
Probe my
come back
mind.
from break. Yeah. It's one of you. I think you know this gentleman very well, uh, and he kind of just wants to talk about O.B.E and N.D.E as he's into that sort of thing as well. So that'll be in hour 3 as soon as we come back from break.
So you set me up, huh?
Grant Tavy, look. I was gonna keep it a secret, but Grant Tavius says it's me. So yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah, I
gonna
got it.
be
I
Grant
know Grant.
Tavius Max coming back from break.
Set me
Talking
up.
about
See?
some good stuff. So yeah, with that being said, I mean it's just when you talk about out of body and near death experience, I mean because we lean into all sorts of other things, just like for instance shadow people, right? Excuse me, like I had the shadow person that I filmed, and I'll probably show in hour 3 again. And that was an actual thing. And I always had a question on where that thing existed, if it existed in that realm that you're talking about. And then if it did, then what does it represent? What is it essentially? Could it be either just simply a person traveling astrally, or could it be one of those, spirits that are trapped in that realm and can't transition to that other side? And so I guess you could briefly answer that, and then we'll go into break here in like 2 minutes.
Oh, you want me to answer that question now?
Yeah, just give us a little teaser to lead us into the break.
With the shadow beings, I've seen them too. I used to not believe about them. I used to hear about them. But then seeing is believing. So I'm watching cable in my room one night, and the lights are on. I'm sitting in a chair just watching something. And out of the corner of my eye, I see something running along the baseboard of my floor. And when I looked, it was gone. And so I said, and I knew I definitely saw something. I could even see the little legs moving. And so I said, let me pretend to watch the TV again and see if it moves. And when I look, now look peripherally, when I looked back at the screen, the legs ran across the front of the baseboard. And then I looked again, and I didn't see it after that. But I've seen shadow figures. I used to see them a lot in this last decade. And the key is to not turn and look at them. Just notice them out of the peripheral and pretend like you're doing what you're doing, and you'll see them move. And they're little, and they're fast too. And at first you think that was a mouse. But then you could be sitting watching Johnny Carson or something, and then you see it out the corner of your eye, and you know it's a person running. I saw a person. I could see the little legs running, and when you look, it disappears. It's said that they know a few seconds before you're going to look. That's why you don't think. You just look peripherally. And there's a thing about not thinking, and there's a lot of things. I'm glad to be around. A lot of things we can talk about.
Okay, cool. So we'll do that. So, guys, what we're gonna do right here, it's been definitely deep, interesting conversation with Mr. Eugene Braxton, and we're gonna pause for the cause for the last break of the night as we get ready to jump into hour number 3, get to talking some more of this N.D.E, O.B.E, and then welcome in our guest, special guest Grant Tavius Max, only here on Spaced Out Radio. See you guys in about 5 minutes. All right. Welcome back to Spaced Out Radio After Hour number 3 with me, your host, Mr. Rob G. And for the final hour, we're going to be jumping back in with Mr. Eugene Braxton and then our special guest, Grant Davies and Max. But before we do that, I want to talk to you once again about the S.O.R. fan party, May 10th through 12th, 2024. I hope you're going to be there. I hope you go ahead and get your tickets. I'm going to give you all the information. But this is how it's going to play out. Friday, first day, we're going to have Jessica, Dave, and myself, Mr. Rob G, hosting 1 hour each. So for a total of 3 hours, we'll be on air. And then once that's over, after that show, we're going to be starting the VIP party. So I hope you guys are all there in attendance. Then Saturday, we're going to have the ghost hunt with Merle. We're going to have Saturday night, the UFO Skywatch with Melinda Leslie. And then Sunday, if you're still around, if you're able to stay, it's going to be a free-for-all hangout. Anything goes. Come and see S.O.R. fan favorites like Science Bob, Lala Bright, Tim Senor, Jim Goodall, Melinda Leslie, Merle, Lorian Fenton, Dr. Michael P. Masters, and more. Come meet Dirty Filth, Jessica Jones. I would love to meet you too. Everyone's invited. We're going to make Dave really mad. We're going to have breakfast for dinner. I want you to join me. Let me know. We can set that up. Your tickets are going to be $60 a ticket, and then $100 gets you all the VIP and swag bags. Rooms have been on sale for as low as $139 per night. That's less than triple the price of what it was in Las Vegas. It's the perfect Christmas gift. And yes, we understand that this does take place during Mother's Day weekend, but hey, your wife and your mother deserve a nice holiday as well. So sign up today. Email your request for tickets to info@spacedoutradio.com. We cannot wait to meet you. So let's go ahead and jump into our hour number 3. We have Eugene Braxton, our guest for the night, and we also have Mr. Grant Davies Max. How you doing, Grant?
Hey, Grant.
All right.
Doing great, my guy. I'm doing great. Eugene, thank you so much for being
Grant.
on the show tonight. It's good seeing you, my friend.
And good seeing you too, Grant. Thanks.
Absolutely.
Awesome stuff. So, Grant said he has some great questions for you, and I really want him to get those off. And I know that you're going to be more than open to answering those. So go ahead, take it away, Grant. What do we got?
So first of all, I want to tell you, Rob, I have been enjoying every single word of every show that you've done so far, and I want to actually take my hats off and bless you, because you've been so good on the show that, you know, for everybody that's listening right now and anybody that's going to listen to the archives, Rob has done such an amazing job, and I just wanted to let you know that my gratitude and appreciation of you is just profound. You're doing oh my goodness, you're doing great. Eugene, thank you so much for joining the show tonight. I know I'm just jumping in at the last hour.
You did
with awesome questions.
There's going to be a lot of questions, but
yeah, a lot.
Well, there's a few things, you know. Over the length of the show, I've been listening to this and listening to everything you had to say. And I have a lot of N.D.E. questions, honestly, because I've kind of put together, and this is based off a little bit of research that I have done over the course of 6 or 7 years. And a lot of them there's a silver lining where everybody has the exact same amount of stories, and they all kind of align with each other. And whether it's they're seeing the tunnel at the end, the angels, or whatever it is, you know, it's definitely a profound experience. But then at the very end, right before the break, you started talking about shadow people. And so automatically my brain just switched. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I kind of wanted to dive a little deeper into that. Is that something that you're willing to do?
Yes, that's cool.
All right. So, oh my goodness, I wish if I could give you my phone number, I would have a very long conversation with you, good sir.
Oh, we can talk. Yeah, we
Oh,
can
that
talk, Grant. Yeah, you've been around for almost as long as I've been around as Spaced Out Radio, right? You've been around since the beginning.
no. So about last year, I had gone to not the last Vegas extravaganza, the meeting where we had the show there. The one before that, I'd gone to that and met Dave Scott. I had been on actually as a interviewee where Dave Scott was interviewing me previously before two Vegases ago, two of the shows ago. So this time we're doing it in Reno. I live in Klamath Falls, Oregon. And so Reno is a hop, skip, and a jump for me. I can literally ride a motorcycle there in very quick, short order. But then me and Dave really hit it off, and I love Dave Scott. He is honestly, he's probably the only human being on this planet. And this is, I have a lot of friends, but Dave, I think, has a very intuitive mind when it comes to me. He knows what I'm about. He can see through me, and I'm going to be honest with you, he's probably one of my best friends. And I know that I can say things to him, that bother me and everything else. And so we had that connection. And then he invited me on the show. So since two Vegas parties ago, I then entered the show with the Spaced Out Radio team. And it's a great team. I love everybody on it. I love everybody that listens to it. It's basically a big family. So the reason why I'm on the show and the reason why I'm interested in this kind of topic is because I had experiences as a child. If you go back and watch my interview with him, that'll catch you up to date with exactly what had happened. But when you speak about near-death experiences, this is something that really gravitates towards me, not only because I've had experiences with what I consider an alien gray and Bigfoot, but there's been all kinds of stuff, including entities in the house, things being moved. And then about 10 minutes ago, you start talking about shadow people, which is more of a newer, how would I say this? It's something that's happened to me within the last few years. I'd say 5 or 6 years that I don't understand. I've never had a near-death experience. I've never been close to that. I've talked to people that have, but you brought up something that you've seen personally, and I'd like to dive into that a little more if you would be willing to.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about? The shadow people?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. What?
So when have you dived into any kind of other people's experiences when it comes to shadow people?
I mean, like just the things that you hear on YouTube. I've seen them. I know that they exist. They seem kind of harmless, and so I kind of forgot about them. There's other things. They don't really. They're rare. Maybe once every 10 years for me.
Really?
Yeah.
So when it comes to other people, I was just looking at the bottom of the screen. When it comes to other people's experiences with shadow people, how often do you ask those questions or delve into those with other people experiences?
I don't. I mean, people talk about shadow people and seeing them, but I mainly stay with the UFOs, the abductions, the near deaths, the out of bodies, consciousness. Because they seem harmless. They're kind of interdimensional where they just disappear while you're watching them run. And the other things like life after death, everyone's going to die. So that's super important.
Right.
And the UFO thing is a strange and weird thing. Yeah. Whenever maybe some other time we'll talk about that. That's an odd thing. That's a really head twister, that UFO thing. But the life after death is super important because everyone will die. Usually before we realize it. It comes as a surprise.
So I don't know how many people have ever actually combined these two philosophies or these two ideas. So when you go to, let's say, what are what's the company name when people are about 6 months out from death, they go into hospice. So hospice, if you talk to the doctors in hospice, when it comes to people that are getting close, they have these visions and they can see angels, or they'll see loved ones, or they'll see shadow people. You'll talk to the doctors, and the doctors for some reason don't see that as much, because the actual nurses that are with these patients or individuals see this more often than not. Is there kind of like a tie between when it becomes to the point where the body is close to extinguishing and the soul or the consciousness says, hey, I'm ready to go, and then you hear all these stories about seeing loved ones or people that they've never even met, birds, owls, or other critters, angels? Is that something you heard in your experiences?
I don't know about the owls, besides like UFO and dreams, but even my mom saw things and spoke about the other side. There's like a point, especially if someone's lucky enough to live a long life or die consciously without pain. There's a point where they do start to slip halfway into that other world at so certain lucid moments. There's also been times when she had super lucid clarity, but their brain seems to shift first, where there's moments of like insightful or comments and visions that they literally see someone and they're literally talking to someone. Because my mom was that kind of person who would even talk about those things. So she had them. And she also said she saw my brother after he died, assuring her that he was going to be all right, my younger brother. Oh. So yeah, the deathbed visitations and the seeing the other side before you physically die, that happens.
Mm-hmm. I've heard that a lot, actually. And Rob, have you heard that before?
I'm actually, when I have my shadow person experience, that's kind of when I started getting in or realizing, I'm being awakened to a lot of things as I go on this trip. And this space right here, me and Eugene, we actually had a conversation on my other channel on the late night call and kind of went over the gist of this stuff. But no, it's all still new to me. Still all new to me.
Really? Yeah, gosh, that's a rabbit hole in of itself. I mean, when Eugene, you're talking about aliens and UFOs, and I mean, obviously we all see this in the media, the news. People are being more awakened to it, I guess. Maybe it's because of the digital age. Everybody has a cell phone now with a camera on it, so everybody's always carrying a camera in their pocket. We're getting video clips of this stuff. There's so far that we can go about this, but when it gets to the point where you're lying in bed and you have a shimmering being or a shadow person or some type of experience, or you have a loved one that's talking to people that you can't see, this is where our inquisitive minds, I think, really it starts getting fired up. And I'm a very religious person myself, to be honest with you. And when it comes to my belief systems, the consciousness is key to everything. And so, Eugene, I do have a question about the aliens.
Okay.
You've been watching the news with, the Senate here in America talking about, David Grush and everybody that's on there, like what's his name, Commander David Fravor, and we had those interviews with him that were live. What literally crossed your mind? Did you watch that, or if not, I mean, what's your point of view on this? What's going on?
Yeah, I don't watch that Senate stuff with the hearings and the whistleblowers because it's all games and it's not getting us any kind of knowledge about the aliens. The regular people can figure it out themselves. These guys will be talking like that for another 80 years. So I don't listen to that. I don't get into the UFO politics. Betty Hill told me, my parents were friends with Barney and Betty Hill, the UFO people from the 60s. Yes. And so me and my brother, we got to meet them too. We would stay winters and summers at their place in New Hampshire and listen to their stories. And then come back in the summer, then come back in the winter. We did that for about maybe 4 years, 3 or 4 years. So also in 1999, I called Mrs. Hill back and made a 3-hour documentary with her. And I questioned her as the America's most experienced mystic. At the time, I was working with Dr. Jacobs in UFO research. Mm-hmm. I was actually working with Jacobs and the other Near-Death World Authority at the same time. But Jacobs and Betty Hill had a thing where she said, anytime you see someone coming through a wall and there's no damage to the wall, you better go get you a psychiatrist. And he had heard from his transgressed or hypnotized clients that they came through windshields and solid walls, which is possible with the abductions. So I went down there to make a documentary with her and to secretly see who was right, him or her. They were both actually right. People are physically taken and they are interdimensionally taken, or astral abduction. But a 3-hour film with Betty Hill, I fully pumped her gently because she was 80, but she had a steel-trapped mind, and we got a lot of info. And I've never shown it to anyone. HBO saw it, but I've never shown it to anyone else, and the world authorities. But I'll be bringing that out soon. It's Dynamite, where me as the mystic, for Dr. J, interviewed her, and I fully, it was an exhaustive interview, 3 hours straight. So it's been a lot of work. But the UFO things and near-death things are like a lot heavier than like the jinn or any of that stuff. Yeah. And it's in a spiritual way where it keeps your thoughts away from that stuff too. The UFO thing is a lot of things. It's spiritual in one sense, but it's threatening in another sense. And I'm talking about the abductions, because there's a pattern with the UFOs and the alien abductions where it can start off bad or terrifying and end up good and educational, or start off in the reverse way, start off where you're learning stuff. And then as you develop older, like with me, you see the reality of what was really happening. It's an interesting field, that UFO thing. I studied with Dr. Jacobs one-on-one for 12 straight years. And I learned everything from him, and I taught him a lot too.
Eugene, are you close to Oregon at all?
I'm close to Oregon, yes.
So after the show, I'd like to get a hold of you and come up and have a more in-depth conversation, because this is something that really intrigues me. And a slight of, taking the next 45 minutes to try to tell my story, I'd really like to have a conversation with you personally about some interactions that I've had over the course of time, over the course of 40 years now. And holy smokes, man, where have you been? I wish I found you a long time ago. This is amazing. I cannot believe. Oh, go ahead, Rob.
Yeah, no, say the N.D.E stuff is really deep. I mean, because you have to, the level that if you're an experiencer of it, you've had to take you've experienced something that is the brink of whatever it is that we're trying to figure out, the whole big picture. So it's a heavy and deep conversation to have. So yeah, I can understand taking that offline. I'm just great. I'm grateful that Eugene came to do this with us, and that you, as an experiencer, Grant, of understanding this and having dealt with it, are asking some of the right questions too. Because I'm on that journey where I'm, picking up things as we go. I ask a lot of questions, specific questions of different people who have had these experiences, so I can put together a puzzle for myself to kind of better understand, what it's like to not having experienced it, what it's like to be in that situation. So, yeah, I just appreciate it all. I soak it all up. And yeah, you've been doing great here, Eugene. I knew it would be awesome. We did this before, we had a minor talk offline, and it was so heavy and deep then as well. You can't help but go there when you have this conversation.
Oh, I'm going to tell you right now. As soon so I got home a little late tonight, and I started kind of halfway into the conversation with you two, and I'm listening to it, and as Rob as he can attest to this, I'm like, oh, we're talking. And by the way, when you start texting people, how you say things I started reading what I texted Rob, and I was like, oh, that's not how I want that to sound. You know what I mean? It just doesn't sound right. And I'm like, and I kept listening. I was like, I need to get in on this. I love this.
Yeah,
Oh my goodness.
I know this is your bag right here. So I'm glad to have someone there, because like I said, for me, I'm asking probing questions
Absolutely
from a place of never having had the experience. And and I think that kind of builds, especially for other people who haven't had the experience too, it kind of builds, it ends up being a lot of the same questions that they might ask. And then with the questions that I have listed right here would be the other ones that I may have forgotten to ask. But I looked through them, and actually some of them were the same thing. So we can actually get a few of these out the way. And then let me see here. We had, let me see. Okay, we can start with Rat Sass. Rat Sass says, Eugene, have you ever woken from a dream feeling lighter and well rested?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, that's a good dream will do that to you.
Yeah.
Now here's one that I kind of touched on a little bit, and I like to see what you say about this. If someone disturbs your body while you're asleep during the O.B.E, could you die from that?
I mean, depends on what kind of disturbance it is. Yeah, if they shoot you, but
I think they mean in that realm, like if they come across you in that realm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in your mind, I've had dreams where I had a dream once where in Philadelphia I got shot in the dream, and I was wounded, and psychologically I was shot. But when I got to the emergency room, there was no wound there, and you feel it, but you're not in pain. Yeah.
When was this dream exactly?
Huh?
When did you have this dream?
Years ago. So you can, in the dream, you can feel that you're hurt, but you're not really hurt. Just like when you're in a falling tree, you fall, hit the ground. You can actually feel the fall when you wake up, but you're not hurt. That's the good thing about dreams, and you can experiment there with a lot of things without getting hurt. There are some people who can control their dreams to the extent that they go in the dream world, get into all kinds of jive, and then escape out by waking up.
Yep.
And in fact, there's a good movie about that called Dreamscape. It's free on YouTube with Dennis Quaid.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah,
check
that's a good
that out. Yeah,
So,
that might.
I have a question. And you just tripped me out, because not too long back, I'm talking maybe 2 months ago, I had a very interesting dream and this is the first time. So let me start this off by saying, back when I was really young, like 6, 7, 8, my father had told me, hey, because I kept having bad dreams, like very vivid bad dreams. I can still remember them to this day, and I'm 44 years old. And he would say, hey, if you need to get away from something, you know how like you're trying to run as fast as you can, but you can't run. You're just so slow. And he's like, no, you can get away from that. Or if you're flying, you can control your dreams. So over the course of years, I've been able to actually fly, not successfully through like around the world, but I can do blocks at a time and sometimes further. But not too long back, I got shot in a dream as well. And it's probably the most vivid dream I've had in my whole life. I'd like to tell it to you in whole, with every single aspect that I can remember, all the facets. But I was shot in my dream, and I was shot point blank in my left eye. I remember the gun. I remember every part about it. And then everything went dark in my dream. And here's the crazy thing. My consciousness was still there, intact. My physical body was not. But then I came back as somebody else, and I worked at the same place, but like 30 or 40 years later. And I was like, hey, I remember this. Like, it changed a little bit. What do we do? Like, I sleep for a couple of days and everything just changed? No. It was much more involved. How do you look at dreams as something, when it comes to, how would I say this? And there goes my dogs. Rob, help me out. How would this be gosh, it's telling you something, right? Or is it just a dream? Because when I went to work the next day and told everybody about this dream, and 4 other people had a dream the night before, that night, about getting shot.
I mean, today that's not uncommon when they have killings every minute, and then the movies with people blasting each other away. And there's a lot of people who have guns in their house, so I'm not surprised. I don't know when you had it, but I'm not surprised people are dreaming about guns. Because there's people actually, when we're dreaming about guns, there's people out there literally shooting people at the same minute. So, I'm not surprised people are dreaming about guns, but luckily it's just a dream. See, I mean, it means something that the person remembers the dream after it's over, because usually dreams dissolve. But wait for about 4 weeks to see if it materializes, and then continue on.
So this dream has been more than 4 weeks, and it's still very vivid. I do have another question now that you just said that. I had heard from another individual that when you die and your soul leaves the physical body and goes into the spiritual realm, that your life, so to speak, the life that you have lived, fades away like a dream. Is that something you ever heard of before?
Well, the life doesn't fade away, but the memory of it fades away.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah, the person has no inclination to even consider it, because they're finally themselves, and everything feels natural. You feel like I used to be here.
Yeah.
And they're faraway dreams. The people. Now, I was only 14, so there's not too many, but I didn't think of my parents or anything. I might have seen them in the life review, but I was too in awe of where I was and closer to the Father. Like when a person has a near death, or even in a good out of body or dream, the earth is alive. It has like a heartbeat, and when you stop and listen to it, it matches your own same rhythm. So you know that you're connected to it, because the same beat of your own heart and brain is the same beat of the earth, and you can hear it when you listen to it. The universe is alive in a way where it interacts with our consciousness. And speaking of consciousness, there are streams of consciousness, there are divisions of consciousness, there are lapses of consciousness, there are deviations of consciousness, and there are illusionary veils of consciousness. So that's like a whole subject in itself. But it does, we don't, in that near death or afterlife thing, you're only thinking about your survival, where you are, and then getting home, which would be the Father or God.
Mm-hmm.
You're naturally inclined to an upward ascension, to reunite from where you once came from. And as you strive to ascend, there's also a magnetic pull pulling you up. You can literally just float up there. It's an interesting thing to experience. And with people trying to get that feeling through the ayahuasca and all that stuff, it's better to do it through a dream or an out of body, because you don't want. Last thing you want is a drug fueled trip where you can't tell if that pink mushroom was real or was some illusion, because the near death itself and out of bodies have illusions in them that are so powerful that when you see the illusion that's really not there, it has an after effect. They affect you after you wake back up. So the illusions in a near death are so powerful that the after effects from an illusion affect you, as well as the regular psychic after effects too. So, and you don't hear people talking about illusions, but in time you will, because people are waking up to a lot of things, but there's half of the near death is filled with spiritual illusions. And through concentrated focus, take a concentrated focus and to merge in with it, then you can ascertain it all at once, which is the mystics in essence, which is mysticism, to obtain immediate knowledge or intuition from God or the creator. And then when you get that kind of knowledge, it trumps everything. You want to connect back to the source because you're from him, so you can communicate with him. You can always see what you're from. He's our spiritual parent, and he super loves us.
And we had two questions that kind of tied into what you guys just went over. JSCO asked, what was your experience with the white light, as we spoke about just a moment ago, and why did you come back?
It was my preference to stay. If you have a really good one, and most people don't want to come back here to the New Jack City hellhole that the world has become. Not every place is like that. There's a lot of wildness going on in the world. And a lot of people think because of that CERN project that actual entities, malevolent entities have come in from the protective barrier that's around our planet. It's so it's good to look at the physical world at the same time when you're looking at the invisible world. You have to live in both worlds. But you have to watch the clowns in real life too, while almost doing like a monk-like mysticism in your private life. And the closer you get to God and the further you get away from the world, it's a good feeling.
Now, DB Nobody asks, does DMT play a role in N.D.E? And I guess they mean the naturally, because I've heard that it's a naturally occurring chemical within the body, in the brain, okay? Mm-hmm. And they're just asking if that naturally occurring chemical plays a role in N.D.E at all.
Yeah, I mean, everything that's natural will play a role for us and in us. And the natural systems that make the DMT would be normal and all right. It's when the person tries to go outside themselves and smoke the DMT to get the natural effect. You can't get a natural effect from like a stimulant. And in science, they wouldn't take it either because it's tainted with the drug. And exactly. Even just the near death can supersede a drug. There's been heroin clowns who remembered vividly, even though they took a super overdose. But you don't want to go into a higher world drugged out or even under the influence. Pot, I could see that. But anything stronger, then you don't see the reality of what is really there. You see a veiled reality.
So there has been scientific evidence that people that are ready to die, just ready to move on to the next whatever adventure they're going on, that the brain actually secretes DMT, a natural in your body dimethyltryptamine that actually is secreted by the brain. And so you have a lot of people on one side of the fence say, oh, well, that's where you get in your life experiences. And that's where you see, whatever video you're going to see before you meet God. And then you have the people on the other side of the fence going, well, that's just to calm you down, just so you can kind of gradually, because physical death is it's kind of horrific. I mean, you're scared, you get nervous, anxiety's up, and it's
that kind of permanent, isn't it?
It is.
See, and the thing is that no one knows when they're going to die. That Perry guy from that show, Matthew Perry, he just dropped. Yeah. Anyone can drop at any time. People should be glad and ask God to live a long life, because things are happening fast these days, and no one knows when they're going to drop or when your other person may drop. Life is short. It goes super quick, even if you live to 90. So it's a valuable thing to have.
All right,
And
Eugene.
it should be fully used, because time is also goes with the lifespan. We only have a certain amount of time, so we've got to use ourselves in the highest way possible. We've got to. Well, I'm a Capricorn, but you always want to self-develop and develop the other people around you. But that's one of the highest things you can do: self-develop yourself for God, and then He gives you all kinds of things, all kinds. And you don't. After all, you don't even have to ask. All you have to do is think about it, and He gives it to you in the perfect way at the perfect time. And that's when you don't need anything. You only need that invisible source, and it's free, and you always have it. And then you get to it. Then a lot of deep things start happening.
All right. Paranormal Pixie Laura asked, Eugene, what, if any, formal studies have you done on various mysticism practices, and where would you recommend a novice begin?
The older the look for the books, not online too, but because the books are online, but try to get the old books from the old masters. Like the Jesuits are really good. Anyone who says anything about Rudolf Steiner is very good. Anyone who says anything about mysticism, because it goes beyond the psychic abilities and the out of body into the spirituality of existence, and that dual side of ourself that we have to balance out with. There's a higher self inside of us that's yearning to complete this 360-degree self-actualization of a completely developed human that can say, I did my parents right, and I'm ready to do God's will. And when the person starts thinking with those intentions, a lot of things happen. Like, you literally can move heaven and earth, because you have a supreme helper who will help you for free. And all you have to do is ask. Most people don't ask. They ask God at the last second. And He still helps them. And then the next day, they forget God again. So He's a good God. He doesn't leave us. We leave Him. And once you have Him, then all that other stuff, the signs, the aliens, that can be easily known and understood all at once, or in detail. But you've got to have God.
Facts, my good sir. Deb from SAC asks, can Eugene see himself, his image in his dreams? So I guess out of body, can you see yourself within your dreams?
In out of body, yeah, you can see yourself. But when you do look at yourself, hi Deb from SAC too, you're a good friend. When you do look at yourself, it almost seems like a mannequin laying down in your bed. And you have no emotional feeling with it, you're just looking at it. Like in the same way that Mr. Spock would. And you see it's you, but you know that you're here. You know that the real you is here. That's the same you that will live on in out of body and then after death. Person is so relieved when they wake up and they realize that I'm not dead. I'm still alive. And then you begin to orient yourself to the afterlife or the out of body world. It's an interesting field, and since it's all going to happen to us, it's more important than the UFO thing. The UFO thing is super important, and actually does relate to life after death, because they have a high interest in God, our spirituality, out of body experiences, and life after death. So all of it's interesting. Super. The aliens are psychological in method, spiritual in nature, and many people in the earth believe that they may be demonic in origin. So that's an interesting field too. But there's some interesting parallels between life after death and aliens that we'll have to talk about in time. That's what the second book is about. Those aliens.
I need to read that second book.
Man.
I'm telling you right now, Oh my gosh. So I'm really good at cooking high-end steaks. I'm talking, and I will cook you the best steak you'll ever have. I promise you. I just need to sit down and talk to you personally. I love this.
It's
good.
an interest. It's one of the highest topics or subjects a person can think about or talk about.
Exactly.
Because it elevates you. It's a cerebral thing, and it also happens in physical real life too. So it's an interesting, yeah, like you said, Grant, very interesting field. And that's why people like us, we're always on spaced out, because we're digging, we're absorbing all the info that we can.
Yeah.
It makes you want to learn more, and you can absorb a lot more. You rapidly, like speed read through stuff. So
yeah,
it's interesting.
Pancho Zork asks you, have you ever heard of someone who saw a shadow every night for many years that looked like Sasquatch that no one else could see?
Well, I haven't seen any shadows that look like Sasquatch. I've seen some weird stuff in the woods. Like you go out in the woods, and you don't even have to be high, but you go out in the woods, especially at night, and that gets super spooky, where you see things, but you don't see things. We used to hunt and stuff, so I do like the woods, but that can get creepy. But as far as shadow people and Sasquatch, I don't really know. Mm-hmm.
All right. Derek Alloway asks, I guess it's to your earlier statement. He says, then how do people know to visit loved ones after they die? Serious question. Is it soul sensing other souls?
I think he's saying, how do the dead know to come back to us to reassure us?
Essentially, yeah, it sounds like it.
It's like if say a father and son are extremely close, closer than the other family members, and the one loses the other. Depending on the willpower of the person while alive, the strength of his will, and the desire to be with his son, the same desire to be with that son or child could temporarily transfer from death, where the desire, it wouldn't last long, because the desire to see a loved one or to reassure them that you're all right, what can take place, especially if the person has a strong attachment and love for that person. It will take place, but the natural order of ascending up would then also take place afterwards. My mom saw my brother when he came back, but then they don't linger like that. They are compelled, they are pulled upward to go through that whole thing, that whole judgment and getting into heaven thing.
We got a one from 33 Productions here wants to know, how can I follow this man? Where are you at, Gene? Where are you at, Eugene? How can they get with you, follow you?
I'm on Facebook, I'm on YouTube, and on Instagram and Twitter. You can also email me. I think, Rob, do you have my email or website?
Do.
Okay,
yeah,
you can put the website email. In fact, I urge all of you guys to pick up a copy of the book. It's only $12, and you get it from my website, because Amazon takes 90%, so you really get nothing. So do get it for the website. I'll autograph it, and usually I stay in contact with the customers, because there's nothing wrong with that. And I've made some good friends that way. But do get the book if you want to learn in detail about all of these things, and there's a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah, Eugene is the man. He's the man for sure.
And for anybody that wants to look up Eugene on Facebook, just understand that it's actually not quite a picture of him. If you actually look it up, it's kind of a multicolored picture, because there's going to be a lot of Eugene Braxtons out there. And usually it's about the first one or two, especially if you find one that is friends with Dave Scott, because that is the way you'll find him on Facebook. And through that, you can get Instagram.
It says America's most experienced mystic too. Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, good. All right, we have Candlin that's asking you, does just talking about these kind of subjects actually raise your consciousness?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Who asked that?
Candlin.
Okay. Yeah, just talking about them does, because you're filling your mind with things that are invisible. I guess they would call that quantum physics. But you're filling your mind with invisible concepts, thoughts, ideas, and theories. And then a lot of times you see it physically or physio-spiritually. A lot of times we do things that involve both the physical and spiritual side of us.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had more time, but there's a lot of things. Like there's a way where you can, well, in the 80s when I was developing, I was trying out a lot of things. Like there's a way if someone's talking to you and you start doing these deep breathing exercises right in front of them, softly, where they can't see. And after about 30 seconds, while you're doing the breathings, you'll be able to see the true nature, like a girl could use that for a promising boyfriend. See the true nature of the person, because you begin that merging aspect. And you have to do the breathings, and you have to be focused on that one single solitary thing. We could talk about the use of the eyes when the person's focused. And you can focus so hard on something that someone has to tap you to get you to wake up. That's the kind of focus that you need. And then along with the deep advanced breathing, you can literally merge into someone. And not only that, you can talk to their inside mind while they're physically talking to you outside. You can have a communication with their mind and say, let's go to McDonald's. A few minutes later, they'll say, let's go to McDonald's. There's a lot of little things like that that come along with the experiences and the psychic powers that you work with, but you don't get stuck up on. But you can definitely practice. They can help you in the real world, but you still want to go after that higher experience. And there's ways to have experiences come to you. There's ways to magnify your psychic abilities. That's something we didn't get to talk about, but maybe in another show.
We will. We're going to book you for the next one, buddy. You already know, Eugene. Come on now.
So it's just like playing a guitar. I can show you how to play the chords, but you're the one that has to learn how to play the guitar.
Yeah, the person, half of it's personal, where it's a personal journey, a personal quest.
Correct.
A personal initiation. That's the person's own initiation. Where the drug clown may be trying to get off the needle, the adulterer may be trying to stop cheating, the bruiser may be trying to get sober. And then when you involve spirituality and God in that, it only enhances it, and things move in your favor according to the good things that you want. Now, if someone did you wrong and you do want to pay them back, there is a way that you can, but they must fully deserve the payback. If they don't, it will boomerang back to you, and you'll get the punishment that you meant for them if they don't deserve it. I've tried and done those things, yeah. But you want to use them always for good things, either for yourself or for others. And you won't believe what God opens up. You ask, when God gives you something, he gives you 77 times in the best way possible. You gotta try it. You gotta try to merge. You want to have a dream where you say, I want to see God. You keep saying that until you have that dream, and you won't believe what happens in your life after that. You want to thirst for God. Well, that's the only thing you want. And then all those other things will be given to you. And there's a lot of things that the world would call magical or impossible. But to God, it's nothing. So
this has been awesome stuff, man. More than I could have ever asked for. I knew it was going to be awesome, but then having Grant pop in made it more awesome. And you know, the interaction from the audience just added on to that. So I think it's official. I mean, it's unanimous. I think everyone loved it, and I think they're going to be ready for some more. So we got to get you set back up, Eugene, to come back on in. You know, I already know you're always over there with me on the call-in show, but this is where I wanted to get you, was here. So we got to set this up and do this again very, very, very soon.
Yes, Rob. Thanks for having me. And I'll pop into you're having your show tonight later.
Always, yeah, definitely.
I'll pop in on that. But thanks for having me. You're a good brother. I like the You have the perfect spirit for that. You're calm. In fact, like you have the perfect spirit for the out of body. You're calm, rational, intelligent, and you don't, you're not quick to overreact or react. That's good. So I thank you for having me.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the love there, man. I really do.
You're good. You represent for our race well. You're good. And Dave likes so you've been good. You've been really good.
Oh man, what can I say, man? Man, I just, hey, we can talk about it.
I'll tell you when I see Rob over in Reno, and hopefully Eugene that you can show up. But the first thing I'm going to do is Rob's going to be turned around, and I'm going to run up on him. I'm going to give him a big old hug. He's like, "Who the heck is on? What the heck?" And Rob,
that's what's up, man. I can't wait.
In fact, like you said, Grant, it would be nice to, because we have a pretty cool team here, like this, especially Spaced Out Chat, the host and the guests and stuff. And it would be cool for all of us to meet up there and then talk and shit. Because imagine we'd probably be talking all night.
Oh well, yeah, I could literally talk to you all night. Believe me.
About this stuff, I could talk all night. Yeah.
Since you said that, I mean, it is actually a great time to talk about the S.O.R fan party, May 10th through 12th, 2024. On Friday, Jessica, Dave, and me, Mr. Rob G, hosted 1 hour each. After the show is the VIP party. Saturday, we're doing the ghost hunt with Merle. Saturday night, the UFO Skywatch with Melinda Leslie. Sunday, if you're able to stay, the free-for-all hangout. Come and see S.O.R fan favorites like just officially confirmed Grant Tavius Max, Science Bob, Lala Bright, Tim Senor, Jim Goodall, Eugene Braxton, hopefully.
I will Leslie. Come. I will come. Yeah, I'll be there in Reno because I missed the last one, and I'll definitely be there. I owe that to Dave and to the chat.
Merle, Lorian Fenton, Dr. Michael P. Masters, and more. Come meet Dirty Filth, Jessica Jones. Like I said before, I want to meet you too because we want to make Dave upset and have breakfast for dinner, and we're going to invite Dave to that.
A breakfast buffet for dinner. Yes.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. So yeah, just let me know. We can set it up. $60 for the ticket. $100 gets all VIP and swag bags. Rooms are on sale for as low as $139 per night, less than triple the price of Las Vegas. Perfect Christmas gift. We understand for sure it's Mother's Day weekend, but hey, your wife deserves a nice holiday as well, and so does your mother. Sign up today. Email your request for tickets to info@spacedoutradio.com. We can't wait to meet you. So we have a couple minutes here. So you guys go ahead and address the audience and say anything you want to say.
Go ahead, Grant.
I'm going to say thank you, everybody, for showing up to the show tonight, as many of you as I've known over the year. And thank you so much for being here. Eugene, it was an honor to meet you, my friend. And I look forward to having many, many future conversations with you. Rob G, keep up the good work. I love you, man. My hat's off. Thank you so much for having me.
Any freaking time, Grant Tavius Max. And I hope that you'll be back. I may need you to come on tomorrow. So I will be talking, man, behind the scenes. And if you're open, we need to set something up. So I'll talk to you more about that.
Yeah, just let me know. I got a little time tomorrow. Yeah, absolutely. If you want me to bring something to the table, let me know.
Okay, for
and
sure.
Everyone, go to my website and check out my book. Order it. You can. There's a PayPal button right there. I'll sign it. We can talk and talk offline too and stuff. Yeah.
Show it. Yeah, you got it. Is that it over your shoulder, right?
This is the book. Is the link in the chat?
Yeah, they have the link in the chat as we speak.
It's
and let me bring
website.
you. Okay, so go ahead and show it. I got you full screen.
Oh, yeah. Go to the website and you can order the book. It's packed with info. In fact, this book when it was published, the manufacturer's retail price was $1,059. I had to get Clinton and Bush to bring it down to $700, and then slowly it went down and down. But originally, it was sold for $1,050. It's packed with info that no one has, not no research, not no near-death research.
That is insane. Going to get the book, like Eugene says. Go ahead and follow him on social media as well. And he said he may stop by the call in after the show. So, what we're going to do here, as I prepare to bring the show to a close, I just want to thank everyone for coming out, everyone here on the panel for taking part in this after hours Saturday night. To all the space travelers out there, consider taking the next step and join the club. That's right. You can join the S.O.R Space Travelers Club for as little as $5 by joining our Patreon. We appreciate your support. To all the viewers and listeners across the globe, thanks for tuning your frequency to Spaced Out Radio, where we do what we do best. And what's that, gentlemen?
We own the
We
night.
own the night. Take care.